this moron, no matter what it is. We could put them all together. I think, Mike, what would you say the top 5 things? Name them. We'll put them in one bill, and we'll put them before we get 100% vote, except for this guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him. We call him Rand Paul Jr. You know, it's like they just vote no. They love voting no. But it bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me.
What's going on, everybody? Today, I got special guest Bobby Sauce here to talk about a few things. We're going to get into some other topics. I'm going to ask what he thinks about the Epstein emails, kind of riff off of that, and some interesting stuff at Turning Point USA. But the main thing we're going to start with is Trump defends Bill Clinton. He praises Bill Clinton, and a lot of people in the comments were saying he's not praising Bill Clinton. I'm like, I mean, the word praise means to like warmly, you know, say something nice about. So he says he likes Bill Clinton. I think that considered a praise, and bashing Thomas Massie. So that's the show for today. Dreamer podcast starts now. Give us a thumbs up in the chat if everything sounds good, and thumbs up on the video for the algorithm.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble? Bob, I'll let you kick it off. What do you think about, we'll start with the Bill Clinton one before we get into the Thomas Massie. What do you think about him saying, you know, I'll just play the clip real quick before, and we'll get your direct reaction. I mean, he's telling people the Epstein files, let's move past them, and then he says this. Actually, I don't have that clip just separately loaded up, but he says, yeah, you could just say what you think, and I'll play it after.
Well, I mean, one of the things that he says in the clip is like the reason that he likes him is because of how he basically like praised him and treated him, which is what everybody has kind of always suggested is like Donnie's weak point, is like praise and admiration is like how you could basically get him to do and or agree to whatever it is that you want. So it definitely tracks. But I do think that it's funny that people are suggesting that he somehow wanted the Epstein files to be released, or he somehow is vindicated as a result of this happening when he was actively seeking to suppress it. So it's like, how can you celebrate it and post about how good this is while also suggesting that anybody that made it happen in the first place is somehow bad?
It's kind of funny too, because there wasn't, I mean, I don't know that I'd say there wasn't anything in it, but like that was as bad for Trump as maybe some people thought.
Yeah.
But he can't even stay out of his own way and just be like, all right, I was vindicated sort of, or whatever, let's move on. He's like, but also, you know, you guys shouldn't really be going after Bill. I feel bad. I'm going to play the clips real quick of him talking about that in the Epstein files. I have it from my video earlier today.
But it bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me.
So now we've reached the stage of Trump praising Bill Clinton while he's telling people to move on from the Epstein files.
I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else, really.
While he's crying about, it's time for the country to get onto something else, you know? Enough of those Epstein files and leave poor Bill Clinton alone. I mean, the dude is a victim.
Yeah, Bill Clinton is good now. And like that's not even to say like all of the other bad things that Bill Clinton did as a president and leading up to being a president, and how he got anointed and all of the shady people that were associated with him becoming the president in the first place. But he likes how he treated him. So that's fine, I guess. I guess we like Bill Clinton now.
Someone said, bro, I'm a diehard Trump defender, and even I'm like, which is awesome, because I think, especially on my page, I'm sure Bobby's as well, like as long as people are just listening, right? Everybody could have your opinion, but me personally, I'm not going to complain that much, although I am complaining, so I'll just stop being passive aggressive about it. I am complaining about this, but I lost 200,000 followers on Facebook. I went from 1.7 to 1.5 in like 2 months, which is crazy to me because I feel like I've been not trusting Trump for like 7 years now, but I don't know. Apparently, maybe I've just been going harder, I think, and maybe we're similar on this. It was him really railing against Thomas Massie again, because there was the first term, obviously, Operation Warp Speed, all this stuff. People made excuses. He went against Massie, but then he actually endorsed Thomas Massie. He brought in RFK, Tulsi. So there was this idea of like, okay, obviously I have my opinions, but let's see what he does, right? We have this blank slate now. Maybe he's come around and he just immediately starts railing against our favorite congressman and who we think is the only person that's really not sold out in Congress. And that's really when I flipped a switch, because when Trump is this guy who's getting attacked by billionaires and media, that's what made people want to defend Trump from the elites and from the establishment. But when Trump becomes the establishment and three Zionist mega billionaire donors, including one who's in Epstein's black book, start funding the opposition to Thomas Massie, and then Trump starts piling on, I guess it inspires me to kind of defend Massie even harder and tell people like Trump is a total clown. Like anything I thought, like I had low expectations, but he's actually doing even worse than I thought he would.
Yeah, and people will say that you're like anti-Trump, or that none of the good things that he's done are now being negated by the fact that you're pointing out this thing. It's like, this is a multifaceted, very complex, many-layered thing. And just because you're willing to call out this individual thing, or even a whole collection of different things that they've done that you think are bad, doesn't mean that you would have preferred Kamala Harris, or that you're a lib, or whatever else they want to associate with. It's like, I don't know how many times I've said the same thing. It's just like, I voted for Trump 3 times. I've got thousands of videos telling people and suggesting to people what he's been doing is good, things that I like about it, things that I think are great. But to just pretend and sit here like and say that these things are not happening is outrageous. And to suggest that somehow Thomas Massie is bad because Trump said jump and they all said how high. And then on top of all of that, a lot of the support of whatever thing that he's pushing that people like you and I think is wrong is being astroturfed by a lot of these people that are getting access to him and are getting paid to support the current thing. And that thing right now happens to be get Massie out of Congress. So all these people that are the America First people that bootleg Trump all day in every single post, a lot of them are being paid to do it. And they're like, no, Thomas Massie is bad. Look at these 5 things. And it's like, well, here's 500 other things that Trump's done that are worse than that you're not even willing to contend with because you don't have a real argument. You're just parroting the thing that they're telling you to say, and you're being paid to say right now. And one of those things is to get Thomas Massie out of Congress, which is a shame.
Right. And in some recent news, there's been a woman, I can't remember her name, maybe you know her name, from Turning Point USA, who said she came out and she thinks she got fired potentially because she didn't believe the FBI narrative around the Kirk assassination. Do you know her name?
Yeah, Aubrey Leitch.
Yeah, she just put out a video and it's going pretty viral. And similar, I can't speak on that because I only know so much and I'm not trying to get into their personal business, but Republican media really does work that way. So in the sense of like, if you're in an organization and everybody in that organization, like nowadays, like Rumble, Don Jr., there's this massive connection between all of these companies. People are on boards of this and that. You go to Mar-a-Lago, you hang out. The second you're in, it's like almost like a cult. And it's funny because I know people are like, oh, only a left winger would call it a cult. It's like, I'm not here to co-sign Rachel Maddow or like Whoopi Goldberg. Who cares what they say? But it is like this financial cult of like, if your whole organization's making millions of dollars, you're hanging out with celebrities, you're getting to wear dresses at like the fanciest place in Florida. And then you're like, you know what? I don't know if I want war with Iran, or I don't know if I'm so much on board with like bashing Thomas Massie. I actually really like him. It's almost like the Matrix turns on you and then everyone looks at you like, what are you, a libtard? So there is a huge financial incentive for a lot of people at these organizations. And one thing that I've spoken about for 6 years now is the Israel lobby. And like, if you in any way, like you don't have to come out and be the craziest person in the world. All you have to do is simply say, I don't know about foreign aid, and I'm not quite sure if we should pass these anti-Semitism hate speech laws into Florida. That seems a little weird. The Matrix turns on you. So I think people have been playing dumb for a long time. And the people, like you said, that are sycophants, that are like Trump, 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 brainwashing all these people who think they're consuming like conservative media, they don't realize that how weird it's gotten for a long time. And I think, Massie is definitely helping break that mold because so many people like him just off of what he says, how he votes, and, being a congressman who isn't just playing ball to play ball. Like he'll explain what they're doing. Like, yeah, this big bill does this good, and this good, but it also gives $5 billion to refugee settlements in America. Why would Republicans want to fund that?
Yeah. And what's funny about it is like every single time they come to criticize Thomas Massie, I'll go to his X and I'll just read through every post that he's made in the last month. and look for something that I disagree with. And I'm like, I don't think I agree with a guy more than I agree with this guy. Like when I look at the stuff that he actually posts, I'm like, this is the most based thread of a member of Congress that I could possibly find. And it's just like, isn't that so perfectly on brand that this is the guy that's the worst? This is the guy who he keeps talking about. And some of the attacks are so stupid too, that it's just like it's very laughable that this is the line of criticism. He's a moron. I heard his wife is such and such. It's like, and then on top of all of that, it's like one of the things I also found really funny last week is all of the people that have said Thomas Massie is bad and all of the people that said Trump is good no matter what he does, all of these paid people that we're talking about that get access to all of the things, they first started posting about the Epstein files to say this exonerates Trump, because the only times that he appears in here are in these unsubstantiated claims that don't even matter. If this does anything, it exonerates him. And it's like, okay, so the guy that you're saying is bad is the reason why you even saw that. And you're not talking about all of the other bad things and why those things deserve to be investigated more. You're just saying that this exonerates Trump, because they can't really attack him unless they want to jeopardize their social circle, their access to the admin, and ultimately their cash flow from the people that advertise with them, because those advertisers don't want to be seen as non-favorable to the Trump orbit. So it's like, if you make $1 million a year and you know that you're going to lose $200K annually by saying that you don't like war in Iran, or you don't want to say such and such about Thomas Massie, are they really going to do that for 200 grand or 300 grand or whatever the number is, 20 grand? I would say that they probably wouldn't, which means that they're astroturfed, that they're basically paid lobbyists, and they're not independent anymore. They're lobbyists.
With the Epstein file stuff, I think a lot of people on both sides, but speaking about our side right now, the Republican side, they've been conditioned to defend Trump, because for 4 years it was like only the left attacks Trump, the establishment attacks Trump, and phony Republicans attack Trump, which seemed to be true at least until like 2020. So that becomes like the conditioning. And then the rug is kind of pulled out under Trump. You start seeing a little bit more of what he's doing. He seems more like he's on the Gates and Clinton side than he really is against. But these people still think everything revolves around Trump. It's almost like a religion created around Trump, where even when the Epstein files came out, me personally, I'm not that, obviously I'm interested in Trump because he's the president. But when it came to the files, to me, Trump wasn't the nucleus of the files. So while left-wingers are trying to point to him and right-wingers are trying to exonerate him, I'm like, look at the actual files, because that'll show you how the whole world works. Like Trump, he's just a character in this massive scheme where you have, Epstein emailing Peter Thiel saying, I work for the Rothschilds, or I represent the Rothschilds. You have him talking to a bunch of, Jewish elitists, calling everybody goyim and stuff, which is, and cattle, which is kind of funny. But also it's just kind of shows you a worldview. It's like, is it Russia? I mean, I'm sure he was talking to someone Russian in there and Russian women, but I think the main picture is, if you're able to take your emotion out of it, whether it's like obsessing over Trump and trying to exonerate him or like hating on him, you could look at the whole thing and be like, all right, who are the Rothschilds? They're this wealthy Jewish banking family who was basically given Israel through the Balfour Declaration. Who is Miriam Adelson? Gave Trump $250 million on stage, said that she wants Trump to run for a third term because her and Alan Dershowitz talked in Israel about it, and they think it's legal for Trump to run a third term because he's doing such a good job. You look at Alan Dershowitz, he was Epstein's lawyer, who, when he was explaining, he had nothing to do with it, he was just the lawyer. He said that he was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein through Lady and Lord Rothschild. So it's like that alone, like, I'm not talking conspiracy theory, but like conspiracy, or at least like a web to weave out of these connections. It's kind of so obvious what's going on. And if you understand, how pro-Israel Trump is, and the fact that Rothschilds basically inherited Israel or the main facilitators of it, it's so clear, at least to that power structure, that Trump is in no way, shape, or form a threat. He's like the exact opposite. He's like their greatest gift ever, so much that they want him to run a third term. So to me, that, and of course, everyone's going to find something interesting in 3 million emails, but to me, that's the most interesting, provable thing, that you don't have to like say, oh, this, read an email wrong, or like someone thought it said 9, but it said 19. And then, I'm seeing a lot of people get fact checked on Twitter. Obviously, there's some other suspect stuff in there that should be looked into, but without, making up like, oh, I'm not really sure. I am sure about what I just told you. Like, that is a power structure. Trump basically works for them. and he's rigging the entire country for them, even immigration. I'm like, I know Trump works with the Israel lobby very closely. Maybe we can at least just close the border and get immigration for America. No, Trump rigs the immigration process for Israel. And now they scan the social media, the DHS does, of incoming citizens. There was this Australian who made a great joke. I got to play it on the show sometime. And he says, hey, guys, I only have a visa. I'm in America. And he says, like, so I can't make a joke about Israel. He goes, not that I'd want to anyway. You know, I like, but he's joking, but he's not joking. He literally, because he's not a citizen and he's just working in America, he actually can't do what we're allowed to do, or else Trump would deport him for a foreign nation.
Yes. Well, the thing is that they will associate you wanting Epstein files transparency with you believing that Trump is in there torturing children or something.
Right.
And it's like, these things are not together. What, if anything, the Epstein files prove beyond a reasonable doubt is that there's an interconnected web of the world's elites, and they monetize and manipulate and benefit from global affairs. And there was mentions of Ukraine in there. All of these people are connected and conspiring with one another. At the very least, them just being connected is in and of itself something that deserves more investigation. And what's so incredible about it all is that, first of all, they say these don't exist. Second, they say they're a hoax. Third, no, as far as I can see, not even that many people even got interrogated, let alone arrested, let alone pursued or subpoenaed for other text messages or whatever else with these associations. So it's like you wanting transparency on the Epstein files doesn't mean that you're trying to bring Trump down with the ship, and that this means that you think that he did all these nefarious things. It's like, how are we just going to pretend that there's nothing here out of all of this stuff, that all of these people being connected and conspiring around these different geopolitical events, there's just nothing there. And no one has been arrested at all for anything. And as far as I can see, barely even investigated or interrogated or interviewed. Like some people not even interviewed at all.
Right.
So.
Well, and even like with public interviews, I asked AI as a research tool, I said, can you scan every public interview ever of Donald Trump? Left wing, right wing, CBS, NBC, Fox News, every single one, podcast, everyone. Has there ever been a question about Miriam Adelson, his biggest donor? Not a single question. We live in the Truman Show. So yeah. It's the same with the whole Rothschild thing, as you were saying, like he's involved in foreign policy. He's doing this. The reason Kash Patel and the Trump administration, and to shut down that talking point where everyone said, if Trump was so guilty, then why wouldn't the Democrats want to release it? First of all, it's deeper than Trump being guilty or innocent. I don't think he committed a crime necessarily. Obviously, some people do, but I don't make false accusations. There's no evidence that Trump committed a crime. But what it is that Trump works for a certain group of people that Democrats also work for. And that's why he defends Bill Clinton. He says he understands me. Understands you about what? Obviously, people will have a nefarious interpretation of that, as understandable considering who Bill Clinton is and what people think of him. But in general, at bare minimum, both parties are working for the same power entity, so they don't want to look there because they already know what's there. It's not like, I wonder what's in the Epstein files, and I wonder, they know all those people. They know who they work for. They know who's a power level above them. Like, I used to think of Trump, like maybe like 2017, as this like hero. You know, I really thought he was a hero. I'm like, he's this powerful guy who's taking on all these people with the power he's achieved. And now I look at him, and when I listen to him, he almost sounds like a dog with his tail between his legs, and he just sounds like weak. Like, it's almost like he's the president of the United States. He's a billionaire, yet he's not. He's like a slave. He's not even in control, and he almost knows it. So he's just like a sock puppet for his donors, and he can do the YMCA and build a ballroom with Lockheed Martin money, but he's not really in a powerful position, or at least doesn't even want to be, because, you know, money and fame is not true power, in my opinion. You know, not to glaze too much, but is what Thomas Massie's doing. It's saying, I am not viable. I am not controllable. This is what I actually believe. And even though he's probably not the richest person in Congress, he's probably the most free man in Congress, and 98% of them are donor slaves. They're pathetic traitors.
Yeah, well, one of the things that you talked about, and what I think why I think this disenfranchises a lot of people, is that the whole promise of Trump initially was like, if there was to be a person that was to really dismantle the deep state and drain the swamp and basically be the people's representative against this power structure that we all clearly know exists and is only being validated by the moment, especially in this particular case, what would that person have to, what attributes would that person have to have? He would have to be uncancelable. He would have to be independently famous enough to get a nomination. He would have to have a history in the public eye long enough that people would vote for him because they know his character or whatever. And then he would also have to be so rich that he didn't need donor money to get in there. And it's like, that was the promise of Trump. That's what we were all so excited about. And as you've pointed out in a multitude of different occasions, it's like, well, then why did he take all that money then? Why did he take all this money if he was so independently wealthy that he was going to fight all them? Why did he take money from those exact same people? And then when he made us this promise that he's going to come back in there and dismantle the supposed deep state, why is the most glaring and most obvious thing that would represent this thing that all of us thought he was there to fight against? Why would he want to cover that specific thing up? Why is he taking money from the exact same people that appear directly or indirectly associated with the people that are contained in there? Why is he the one person that we all thought in a lot of ways was like our last chance or our only chance or whatever in the moment to fight that specific thing? Why is he turning on that? And then once he did, they're like saying that we're somehow like not loyal or we're not MAGA or we're not America first because we're willing to call him out for that. Oh, you hate him now? You want Kamala instead? It's like, you guys aren't even like, did we not all just do this? Like, did we not all just see this happen? But now I'm not America first when I've been actively encouraging people to vote for him and pointed out all the things that he did well for all this time, but now I'm bad because of this thing that's obviously bad and right in front of us.
Right. Well, there's two types of people that like Trump. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but you have the type who says, you know, he's the best option. I like him, and I like that he represents conservative values to some extent. And then you have other people who think that Trump is the only Republican and the only conservative. So if Trump does communism or socialism, it's capitalism now. If Trump does liberalism, it's conservatism. So they've made Trump the center of their universe, and they think you're not a Republican or a conservative if you call him out. And I want to talk about this concept too, because I know there's different, some people say like never vote. If you vote, you're a slave. Other people say if you don't vote, you can't complain. So you're never going to be able to please both sides. If I didn't vote for Trump, then people would say, well, if you don't vote, your vote doesn't matter. And then if I do vote, there's people who say, well, you're a retard. Why'd you vote? You know, now your opinion doesn't matter. So you get it from both ways. But like there's two things. First of all, when it comes time to vote, you as a citizen, if you pay your taxes or you know, whatever. You get to decide, do I want to go and vote for somebody locally? Do I want to go and vote for people nationally, or do I not? And I don't, me personally, whether you voted or not, I don't really care. And then after the vote, whether you're a non-voter or a voter, but especially I think this is what Republicans who do vote need to hear, is that it doesn't just end just when you vote. So it's like these people say, well, I voted for Trump. It's over. Now you're Kamala if you criticize him. And it's like, you know, I had a few reasons that I voted for him. I wanted to close the border. I wanted to roll the dice with RFK, see what he did. And then also I really was hoping that, you know, Trump did some decent foreign policy, which doesn't seem to be true in my opinion. But regardless, I had very low expectations. It's not like I went in to vote for Trump and said, oh, he's my hero now. I'm like, dude, I don't trust him. I don't even really like him that much. I think he's a total phony, but he's the baseline's slightly better than Biden. But what I was hoping, and I'm still hoping, is that one, our side wakes up, but also we can hold him accountable. Like if I didn't vote and I said, oh, I want Trump to do this and that, of course, there's always going to be people say everything, but they're like, oh, you're not even a Trump voter. Why would he listen to you? It's like, well, all right, here, well, let's turn the tables. I am a Trump voter. I did vote for him. Now I want to have my opinion about what he's doing because, you know, without me and tens of millions of people support, he wouldn't be here right now. Same with like he's lost Joe Rogan. He's lost Andrew Schultz. He's lost Tim Dillon. He's lost most people who got him elected in the first place. Not that he has to please everybody, but to me, voting or not voting doesn't matter that much. What actually matters is holding politicians accountable. But there's so many Republicans that for some reason they think like if you criticize Trump, you're Kamala, when the reality is that's all we have. We don't have Miriam Adelson or Timothy Mellon or Elon Musk money. That type of money talks. Alex Karp of Palantir voted for Kamala. But as soon as Trump wins, he gives them $1 million like everybody does at the inauguration, and they buy the Trump administration and they get what they want. We don't have that money. All we have is our First Amendment. So it's just this crazy concept that people have of like, I voted, it's over, you're a Democrat, stop talking about him. It's like, no, I actually like criticizing Trump more than Biden because I'm on Trump's side. Biden will never listen to me. I'm like, hey, Biden, you should do this. Dude, he'd rather lock me in a house and vaccinate me. Like, Biden is a psychopath. He's not even close to a representative who represents me. I want Trump to hear me because this is supposed to be our side, our movement, and our stuff. So I don't understand why so many Trump voters don't talk to Trump. Like, Trump thinks you're literally a joke unless you have like any sort of backbone.
Yeah, well, if you're to be a person that's a news analyst, a political pundit, a political whatever commentator, however we want to refer to it, it's like the easiest job in the game is to criticize only what the left does and parrot anything the right does. That's the easiest way to attention. That's the easiest way to money. That's the easiest way to favorability 50% of the time. And there's a lot of people that have filled that role. It is a much more difficult, challenging, and I would say less financially beneficial role to criticize both sides all the time. And it's like, but what you gain is you gain the respect of the people that are willing to believe that it's not just a binary. Because when a Democrat is in office next, if all we do is just complain about the left all day, every day, and then the person on the right gets in, so now we don't complain anymore, what good is your opinion then to parrot anything that you could see on Fox News or on any one of these other paid accounts? Like, just like you said, no one on the left is ever going to listen to anything that we say. But if you're not willing to call out the right, then you might as well just be Fox News. Like, one of the things that I call out all the time is financial stuff. And people get really mad at me when I talk about financial things. And it's like, well, just because it's Trump doesn't mean that socialism is cool now. And just because people don't choose not to go deeper into understanding this topic beyond Trump did it, therefore it is good, doesn't mean I'm just going to not criticize it or not talk about it, because that's the reason why anyone even pays attention to us in the first place, is to be not Fox News. If anybody wanted to just wanted regurgitated, warmed over MAGA slop, there's 1,000 people that already do that. So we provide no value to the marketplace if we just regurgitate the same things that everybody else is saying.
100%. And like, imagine if you told me, like, I like you, I trust you, but if you're like, yo, your wall is like orange, and I'm like, you know what? Let me look for myself real quick. Let me do a little research. I think it's actually green. It doesn't mean I hate you. It just means I respect myself enough to double check on certain things that I have the ability to do that. And that's news analysis. Like, there's a reason, and I'm not trying to brag, but like, there's a reason I was right about the pandemic. There's a reason I predicted mandatory vaccines. There's a reason I knew lockdowns were coming before they happened. There's a reason, like, my reporting is still true to this day from 2019 and 2020 in most cases. It's not because, and I could pretend like I'm one of these Q like researchers where they're like, I have an anonymous source from Afghanistan, trust me, patriots. And I'm like, dude, this guy's completely lying. Like, he's just talking to a bunch of people. I'm not predicting this because I just had a dream or I thought about it or someone told me. I'm researching. It's easy to make correct decisions when you look at the information and don't just trust Donald Trump. I liked Donald Trump because he was being honest and he was doing things that I knew were right. And the second that he started going against like the First Amendment, I stayed true to the First Amendment. My loyalty is not to Trump. It's to the truth. It's to God. It's to the country. And even in the email that Trump wrote about, oh, Thomas Massie or the True Social, he goes, Thomas Massie has no loyalty to Donald J. Trump. Correct, because he has loyalty to the country, the Constitution, which is what you're supposed to do in Congress. It's not a Trump ass licking competition, but it is for most people around that. So that's what people don't understand. It's like, there's a reason Ron Paul was predicted so many things. It's because he wasn't taking money to lie to you and kill your kids in a war for a foreign nation. He didn't take the money, so he was able to tell the truth. That's us. That's why what we're saying is going to age well. And we know a lot of these other people. It's like, if only the people that thought we were wrong knew what other people were doing, they would like me better if I took $1 billion from the Rothschilds and just said, let's start more wars. They'd be like, oh, Anomaly's a patriot. Oh, well, he came back to the bright side. It's like, reject, not that the Rothschilds have ever offered me money, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah.
It's not a, it's a much more challenging path to not not be parroting the main thing. Like, one of the things that really bothered me about like a lot of the left-wing content creators is there's endless material Like if you wake up and you're a leftist or a pro Kamala or whatever content creator, or you're a Democrat content creator, you could go to CNN, MSNBC, CBS, whatever else, and you can just comment on the story of the day. You can read the thing that CBS says happened today, and you can just read it. And like I remember like Harry Sisson, he does that every day. He's like always sharing all these mainstream outlets. And I'm like, man, this guy's got content for days because he can just read what appears in this article, show the screenshot of it, and say, here's what happened today. Here's what these journalists said happened today. I go on Fox News or Breitbart or whatever else, and I have to figure out if that is actually true. I have to figure out if what they're saying is not completely slopped over garbage, because I don't want to be associated with that thing. It's a much more challenging job to actually be a person that seeks the truth out. And as I said, it's not nearly as beneficial. If you just constantly repurpose and repost MAGA slop, you are part of the team. And now they have this new term where like you're a doomer, grifter, black-pilled, whatever else. And it's like, why? Because I look at the thing. I'm black-pilled because I'm seeing a thing that is bad and not regurgitating it. I'm somehow on the bad side because I'm not just regurgitating whatever it is that they say is true right now. It's complete garbage. And then they hate on us because they don't want to see those things that are bad. It feels much more warm and fuzzy to think that the white hats are in charge and the patriots are in control, and this is a super secret military operation, and the hammer is going to come down soon and we're going to release the Kraken. It's a much easier fairy tale to live in than to be faced with the reality of what's actually happening.
Shifty Eye Shady said Anomaly will soon be offered $7,000. See, I was like,
by who?
Yeah. Well, you can't say who, it's a hate speech, but the offer, the 7,000 thing, that's like a new thing. I was offered the deal before the deal, but they didn't even like offer me money. They were basically just, we're going to call you anti-Semitic and try to ruin your life if you don't stop talking about the speech laws. And I was like, it's a gamble I'm willing to take, because I'm not going to turn against the First Amendment for a foreign nation. So not built like that. Yeah. What you were saying about the what were you saying right before that? Sorry, I got caught up on that.
About what? About not reposting MAGA slop and people suggesting that means that we are not loyal to President Trump.
Oh yeah, I forget exactly what it is, but I'm gonna play this clip while I'm trying to remember. You said, I haven't seen it yet, but you said this was going viral. You were defending Thomas Massie in this clip, so yeah. I want a good laugh. I'm sure it's gonna be funny, and I think Thomas reposted this yesterday too. So let's take a watch one of Bobby's Instagram videos.
Well, this was the post earlier today. 2 Republicans voted nay to stall the bill to fund the government, and it ended up being only one again. And who was it? Thomas Massie. And well, it must be Groundhog Day again, because cue the Thomas Massie is a rhino. He's a Democrat. He's a grandstander. Because like clockwork, these types of comments came in. Massie is a traitor to America. And there's my response below. Let's see why Thomas Massie voted no on this bill, and let's just see how much of a grandstander he is. Because this, my friends, is a masterclass from our greatest member of Congress. Behold, because instead of letting these bag of sand propaganda, you're not loyal to President Trump, you're not loyal to President Trump. Instead of letting them frame the narrative, Massie told us in his own words, I voted against this omnibus. Here's a breakdown of the most ridiculous items included, including some America First items that were not. From the man himself, $5 billion to provide cash benefits, healthcare, daycare, and job programs to refugees on the taxpayer dime. What a grandstander! $315 million to fund the CIA's branch of the State Department that propagandizes and destabilizes the globe and has an interest in censoring and attacking conservative media outlets. What a traitor! Thomas Massie is a rhino! Traitor to America! What a traitor! Why doesn't he support President Trump? $3.3 billion to our greatest ally! Oh, and an extra $500 million. Greatest ally! What a traitor! Grandstander! $1.5 billion to Egypt. I don't know about you guys, but when I see all those veterans laying on the street and all the fent zombies in Baltimore, I go, shucks, we need to send money to Egypt. Oh, and $2.1 billion to the Jordanians, because America first or whatever. Grandstander. Nearly $700 million to foreign HIV AIDS, because that's what I think of when buying groceries in Kentucky. Me too, Thomas. Me too. and some America First items that they refused to include. Grandstander, what a Democrat! Dominic Nicey is a Democrat. His amendment to freeze funds for the daycare fraud. The amendment to stop warrantless surveillance of Americans via loopholes in the FISA Act. Oh, grandstander. The amendment to prevent the kill switch on your personal vehicle. Traitor. The amendment to end propagandizing U.S. citizens by the State Department and the U.S. Agency for Global Media. What a traitor. No, Thomas, no. They also blocked the amendment to stop the creation of CBDCs. Oh! Financial surveillance and control of your wealth. What a grandstand! What a Democrat! What a rhino! What do you support? And wouldn't you know, the inclusion of the SAVE Act. Wow! Grandstander! And well, Charlie has a tweet for everything. 2016. How about it? If that's what makes Thomas Massie the traitor, then what is everyone else? Where do you support?
Dude, that's great. I mean, that's the perfect representation with some humor, because if you're not laughing, you're crying. I mean, how does everybody not see this stuff? Like, no one has to pay you to just look and be like, wow, we have one congressman who's not going to sign some $1 trillion bill that's sending our money all overseas, and everything that Republicans have been crying about. That's why I don't even talk about this Somalia, Minnesota, whatever they call that state now, Somaliland. Oh no, Somaliland's what Israel's trying to do. But it's like, if they actually meant what they said, I'd pay attention. But they're like, we don't like all these things, but we're going to vote for the bill that funds the things, and then yell at the guy who points it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like, good job, Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley is a patriot. And then they're like, we're going to fund it. It's like, okay.
Dude.
And Thomas Massie is the bad one because why? Because he exposed the Epstein files that Trump said he was going to expose, but didn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense. That's why it's like so laughable that sometimes those videos, I'm like, I can't help but to just freak out. And I like yell at my phone because I'm like, this is the most preposterous thing imaginable, that this guy is not America first when he's literally doing exactly that.
No, it's good that you make it funny when you yell, because if you were just yelling not being funny, people would think you were a psycho. So when you make it in, but like, you could tell it's like you're being hilarious, but at the same time you're actually like, it's actual passion and frustration. Because dude, like I said, and it is what it is. I lost 200,000 followers. I worked like my ass off, and then these people hate me. They're praying for my downfall because I'm trying to explain to them the Rothschilds, Epstein, and Trump, and they're like, shut up and just be like that guy with a 50 IQ that literally gets paid to lie to me. I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah. Like if you just woke up every day and reposted the mainline Fox News headline of the day, or reposted like a cat turd or a Gunther Eagleman or whoever all these people even are, and they're like, FBI arrests are coming, like, oh, the crime is down, like, great job, President Trump. It's like, we're not saying that those things are not happening or that those things are not good, but I'm not just going to repost the mainline headline of the day and not go deep into these other things that deserve attention that none of these guys are talking about. And their best defense is like, oh, you're not supporting President Trump. And it's like, no, you idiot. There's like there's 1,000 things here. Are you just going to pretend that this doesn't exist? They're like, what would you prefer, Kamala? Or they're like, no, dude, there's a super secret, top secret military operation that's been in going on for 7 years now. And just wait. And it's like, wait for what, dude? Like, I swear to God, the joke that I've been saying is they're literally going to be like, just wait till Barron Trump is the president, and then all the truth will be revealed. It's like, all right, 2070, guys, it's coming.
Who's the new like Gunther Eagleman account? I think it's like Eric Daughtry or something, where he'll be like, Trump just signed a bill that prints trillions of dollars and puts us further into debt. Based. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, who is this guy? Like, literally everything he does, he acts like a dog. He's like, oh my gosh, we did it again, Patriots. We're gonna bomb Iran. I'm like, are you really that happy, bruh, when you're posting these X accounts?
Well, that's the whole thing, is that pays. Like, all of those people get these mega sized reposts and all of this money to post those things. It's like, if you literally only bootlick whatever your side is, if you're the Harry Sisson of the left on the right, it is a high value game. Like, if anybody could be Benny Johnson and repurpose the mainline news article of the day. And it's like, somebody like that, not to call out Benny, even though he deserves to be called out. It's like, he's the one that gets the interviews with Mike Johnson. He's the one that gets the interviews with the members of Congress. That guy that just reposts the same slop. Do you think that he would get an interview with Mike Johnson if he was critical of the administration? No. But it's like, that interview helps him make money. That is the type of thing that helps all these people make money. And when you get so entrenched into like a financial flow as a result of being on the inner circle of these people, it is financially counterintuitive to your aims, which is to make money, to criticize them, which is why the independent people on the outside that don't make money from those people are like the last kind of shred of people that are not bought out, because once you get big enough, they will buy your favor directly or indirectly in the form of taking your current income level and inflating it by if you get a repost from 10 of the biggest other MAGA accounts, you're all making money together. So that's a great business plan for all of them, but it doesn't ring true to the people that actually really care. Yet these are supposedly the patriots. These are the America First people that are willing to lie to enrich themselves, or at the very least lie by omission.
Someone said when Anomaly spoke out, I was mad at first and then started to realize we were getting effed. Well, I appreciate you. Hopefully a lot of people feel that way in the future, and then I could stop hemorrhaging all my following, because boomers want me to like be bankrupt now. Let's listen after we've seen Bobby's video where he very accurately pointed out all of the reasons that Massie votes no. And it's every time Rand Paul votes no too. I'm not going to say every time, because maybe he's done something I disagree with, but similar to how you said earlier, like I'm waiting to find something that I like really disagree with Thomas Massie on, but it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Here's what Trump said about them recently, because they vote no when he tries to print trillions of dollars, fund Israel, fund refugees, and do a bunch of weird stuff. And these massive bills that if everyone in this country came together and said, hey, left wing, right wing, we're so close, but people just obsess over Trump too much for some reason, and said, hey, we need to stop funding like every year billions and trillions of dollars in one bill and separate the bills. This way we can pick yes and no. They purposely do these big bills and try to frame you as a rhino if you go against them, because that's when if the bill is 10,000 pages and you can't read it, do you know how many friends and contractors and donors are getting a cut of that in page 745 that you can't even read? Like that is the big bill is the big scam. But here's what Trump says real quick about anybody who votes no to his big scam bills.
Is an automatic no. No matter what. If we did welfare reform, if we did the greatest thing in history for religion, no matter what we did, no matter how good it is, greatest tax cuts, and we just did the greatest tax cuts in history, he voted against. He voted. Now, no matter what we do, this moron, no matter what it is, we could put them all together. I think, Mike, what would you say the top 5 things? Name them. We'll put them in one bill, and we'll put them before we'll get 100% vote, except for this guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him. We call him Rand Paul Jr. You know, it's like they just vote no. They love voting no. They think it's good politically. The guy's polling at about 9%. It's not good.
Yeah, so he's just a moron.
I love how like it's at the prayer. It's like at the prayer.
They're like, Trump, you're supposed to do the Lord's Prayer. He's like, oh, my bad. I got a little carried away.
Yeah. And what's so funny about that characterization of it is it's like, oh, we could do the greatest thing ever and he will vote no. And it's like, well, if you came to my house and you brought me like a basket full of treats and goodies and you washed my car, but you also lit my house on fire or stole gold out of my safe, then it doesn't matter how nice of a basket you gave me or how nice you were to wash my car or cut my grass. You still robbed me out the back door. So just because you packaged a good thing with a bunch of garbage doesn't mean that it's good, and doesn't mean that by me rejecting it as a whole means that I somehow hate you or am bad now. It's like, that's such an unfair way of characterizing it. And it's like, this is the thing. What I hate so much is when people say things like, this is how it's always been, this is how it is, deal with it. And it's like, yeah, but if that's how it's always been, and if that's the swamp, and if that's all of these rats that have been in there, didn't we put him in there? Wasn't that the promise of putting him in, is that was the thing that could change? If you just accept that that's how it is, that we're always going to get garbage in our, in our box of cereal, there's going to be a rat inside there, then what good is it? I think that's what he ran on. That was the promise of this from the beginning. But it's like, no. Thomas Massie is bad, and Lindsey Graham is good, guys. The guy that's been in there for 2 decades, that's a Warhawk rhino that has a bunch of like military industrial complex contracts on the back end. He's the guy that's America first. But Thomas Massie is a moron for explaining why he votes no on these bills. I would like to see some of these other Congress people that voted yes for the bill explain why they were okay with passing all those things through. They'll repost Nick Shirley and say, good job, Nick Shirley, and then literally vote to finance it. Why? And they don't have to explain that ever.
Well, they never explain it. Like if you go to Ted Cruz's like Twitter account, you would think he works for Tel Aviv. It's like everything's about Israel. Lindsey Graham's like flying to foreign nations all the time. I wanted to play this clip real quick, and I'm playing it in the blind. So, may the Lord protect me. Hopefully it's not too crazy, but Trump was calling Massie a moron at the prayer rally or whatever, the prayer dinner or breakfast. And his spiritual prayer advisor, I don't know if you've ever seen videos of her. She's some lunatic. Her name is Paula White Kane. And I've tried to find a crazy one, but obviously I can't listen to it now. So I'm just going to play it. I've seen videos of her like months ago, and she's like a total psychopath. And she's one of those preachers where people look at and they're like, oh, that's why I don't want to go to church sort of vibe. So here's a clip of who Trump's spiritual advisor is. I hope it's one of the funny ones because I was doing it while you were talking.
So some of you need to sow a seed now. Come on, some of you are at a place of altar. You've got to be at a place of sacrifice. When it's the hardest is when it's sacrifice. Then some of you need to be at a place where you're just obedient out of covenant. And I'm not saying just your tithe. I'm saying covenant. What is the vow you've made unto God? What is it? And then God says, okay, now I'm going to open up your eyes and you're going to get a vision. And there's going to be a mental picture. Come on. There's going to be revelation is what that is. It comes from a Hebrew word that I can't pronounce. But it comes from a Hebrew word that literally means out of revelation. It's a mental picture that is strong enough of your future, that is strong enough to mold your present. So in other words, I'm not just looking to my future, hoping and waiting to get there. My present is lining up with what I see on the inside. If you have spiritual blindness, you're never going to get there.
All right, that one wasn't that great. Let me find one with Netanyahu.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've been going since about 1986. It made the Bible in so many ways come alive, but I fell in love with the people, with the culture, with the nation. I took my children and my grandchildren right before the horrific October 7th attack. And we embedded ourselves, a good friend was having a bar mitzvah. We embedded ourselves within the Orthodox community and had Shabbat together and ate together and fellowship together, studied the Torah together, went all over Israel. And it was one of the most memorable, best times that we have had as a family. And so we are so grateful. I encourage Christians all over the world, you must make your journey to Israel.
Listen to Paula.
I say it will be the best.
We will welcome you. In Jerusalem and Nazareth and the Sea of Galilee and all the places that you hear about, they're not somewhere remote. They're real places. They're actually very close to each other. So you can actually see where the Bible happened. You can actually see where it happened. And there are remnants too. I mean, there are churches. There's a church right in the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus preached.
Oh, yeah.
In Capernaum. It's there.
I don't want to watch the whole thing, but I've seen some like crazier ones where she's like getting a message from the Lord. And do some research into her on your own, folks. Sorry, I couldn't find some better clips.
Well, it's just there's a lot of word salad happening there where you're saying a bunch of things without really saying anything substantive. And again, what they always do is like they'll mix a little bit of truth in with a lot of nothing. So it's like, what does she even say there? Like there's these motivational speakers on Instagram that will give these sermons as if they're like somehow thoughtful and enlightening. And they'll say a bunch of nothing. They're like, if you want to believe in yourself, you just got to believe. You just got to think about how you believe and then go believe. And people are like, oh yeah. Like, what are you even saying? So those are places in Israel. And that means what?
We need to give our money to them or else you're an anti-Semite for sure.
Right.
And I should work harder to give them more money so they can bomb kids in Palestine and then call me an anti-Semite for saying they did it.
Yeah. She's like, I had a nice time with my family there. Yeah. Okay.
All
right, great.
I found the real crazy clip I was looking for here.
Wherever I go, God rules. When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White House grounds. I had every right and authority to declare the White House as holy ground because I was standing there, and where I stand is holy.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. And I won't do that.
We are in a spiritual war right now. Let every demonic network that has aligned itself against the purpose, against the calling of President Trump, let it be broken, let it be torn down in the name of Jesus. You want me to tell you what my thoughts are? The thoughts of the King of Kings, the thoughts of the...
So she said in that clip, if you deny Trump, you deny God or something. You know, that was, yeah, I don't think that's true.
Perfect, dude. Isn't there something in the Bible about that specific type of claim?
Are you talking about the
false prophets?
The original Bible or the Trump Bible? Because there's a new edition where he wrote his name like he did with the Andrew Jackson statue. He's like, you know, me and Jesus, we were both persecuted by CNN. I was like, I don't think CNN was around at that time. He's like, fake news. You're
What do you prefer, Kamala? What are you, a leftist? It's like, yeah, you got it, dude. Yeah, that's a perfect. Again, it's like that. It's like, isn't that just perfect? And it's like that level of delusion is what is passed down. And the patriot supposed people, the right wing commentators, do a very similar slight offshoot of that in their content. They're basically saying the same thing. It's like, okay, dude. So then what do we need that for? We have Fox News. That's exactly what they're doing. Reposting. They're literally propagandists, but cool, I guess.
Yeah. So with the Epstein files, I made a video, like a top 10 of all of my, I don't know if I would say favorite, but the ones that stood out to me. You know, there was a lot of goyim in there. So, you know, I'm feeling more like a goyim this week. There was actually a tweet. Hold on. I got to read this tweet. I'm like on a crazy tangent, but okay. Avi Yamini, who is like this Jewish journalist from Australia, he tweeted about, he was like, don't worry, Goyim, like we really like you. I got to find the tweet because I was laughing so hard at it. Hold on. I got to scroll down real quick. Hold on, Goyim. He was like, don't believe what you heard. We love the Goyim. Well, all right, you could say something while I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry.
I think it was Fuentes, but he tweeted yesterday. He was like, I have Goyim fatigued.
Oh yeah, dude, he's sick of the goyim too. I get it. Some people do act like cattle, but it's okay. Avi Yamini, he said, dear goyim. Oh my gosh, he said, dear goyim, know this: we love you unless you hate us. Before jumping on the latest outrage trend, maybe learn what the word actually means. Goy means nation, and the Torah Jews are called the Goy Kadash, a holy nation. It's not the slur they're selling you. And yes, Epstein was a POS, and every friend and connection of his should be exposed. Thank you for this matter. But I just love the dear Goyim. We love you. I was like, all right, well, that's not the message I've gotten over the last 6 years. But I mean, you know, maybe I got the wrong message. I don't know. I could look again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how it's used in the zeitgeist, but fine.
And he said he didn't like Epstein's network, which was good. I mean, I didn't think he did, but there's another guy where people on my page think it's parody, but I don't think it is, because I've seen his page a lot, and he's always saying like he kind of like honestly like super creeps me out, so I like never talk about it. But his name is Richard Hanania, and he said hating Epstein represents the essence of anti-Semitism, the resentment of mediocrities, conspiracy thinking, and chud moralism. And everyone's like, he's being sarcastic, right? I was like, I don't think so, based on his Twitter account, but maybe his entire persona is sarcasm, and I'm just not getting the joke. I don't think he was joking there.
Yeah, it is interesting how anyone else can be referred to in that way, and they are not criticized for it because they're victimized or whatever else. Speaking of which, did you see the blue square commercial that's going to be on the Super Bowl from Robert Kraft? Did you see
I saw it going around, but I didn't watch it yet, because do you think I could play it without getting like copyright stricken?
I don't know, but
we'll roll the dice. Whatever.
It's very good, dude.
If we go down, we go down, bro. If I lose $100 over this, it'll be worth it. Let me see.
It's
Robert.
good.
Is it like apparently it was like so bad that like even like Jewish activists were like, yo, this is going to create more anti-Semitism. And I was like, oh, dude, if this lady said that, because she was like, she's like super pro-Israel, calling everyone anti-Semites all the time. And even she was like, yo, this is the worst ad I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Well, no,
I got it.
It's
Yes. You want to play it?
I think you should play it. It's pretty good.
I don't want to lose my monetization. February is a short month, so that rent check's going to be coming around the corner. But here is Robert Kraft's blue square ad to fight anti-Semitism. Here it is, folks.
Loser. Dude.
Did you see that? Should we tell him? So bad.
Oh, bro, look at him. Oh my gosh.
It's not funny.
Do not listen to that. Thank you, man. I know how it feels. Nah. They're not worth it, bro.
Yeah, you're right. I was tripping.
What's your name?
Name's Dave.
David?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello?
I mean,
It daps him up. He's like, yo, I'm with you, bro.
He's like, you want to go
All
get some cornbread after this? He's like, that's racist. And then they fight each other after the ad,
I just don't understand, like, at what, like, who sees that and is like, yeah, I really shouldn't be anti-Semitic anymore. That's really because I was until I saw that, and then I saw that they're being persecuted like the black guy was, and he's with them, and he dapped him up, and he had a blue square post-it note handy to cover it up.
That was a bad ad for sure. It reminds me of like end racism on the end zone. It's like, no, not one single racist was converted by that,
Yes, right, exactly. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, it's like writing end racism in the end. It's like every person. If you were really a racist, would you watch football? Like,
yeah, it's like so many black people. You're like, he catches a touchdown, and you're like, I wanted to hate him even though he was on my team, but then I saw the end zone and it said end racism, and I was like, you know what? Good catch, Jamar Chase. I never thought of that before.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, white people love black athletes, and they have for like a long time now, at least 50 years at this point, but.
Yeah, and like they say, and it's like the whole thing is that everything was so racist and is so much supposedly less racist now, or whatever. Maybe before Trump it was less racist. When I was a kid, all the posters on my wall were Michael Jordan. I wasn't like, look at this black guy. I was just like, Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete. He sets a great example. I like Michael Jordan. It wasn't like, and I lived in a place that was very, very white, and I didn't hear that. And it's like obviously people get criticized for being Jewish, just like people get criticized for being everything. So I don't know. I just don't think that really is going to go over as well as they think that it does. And I don't see whose mind that actually is going to change.
No, I have a theory on ending racism because I've been working really hard at it for years, and the best way, if you're any race or any religion and you're trying to put on for your race or religion, it's to be cool and to be likable and to be a good person. Like, say you're just in your own community and you're not famous, right? Being a good employee, being a good person, being a good neighbor, like that's what makes people like you. And then when enough people do that, it's like, wow, I'm starting to notice a pattern of like really cool people from this or that. And then if you're an athlete or a comedian, like Adam Sandler, he never had to complain. I never heard him use the word anti-Semitism in my whole life, yet he made me like Jewish people more because the Hanukkah song was hilarious. He was making the funniest movies. I liked his like goofy style of humor. I always thought he was one of the funniest. He never had to talk about it that much. Like he wasn't hiding who he was, but he wasn't throwing it in your face. It's always the most annoying people of every race that are talking about it all the time, and they're like, you have to like me because I'm black, or you have to like me because I'm Jewish, you have to like me because I'm Asian. And it's like, I actually don't have to like you, because that's not how the world works. Like, being liked is earned, and all of the coolest people of every race never have to ask people to like them. They just do it naturally. And the people that beg you the hardest are usually the people that are creating the most hate, because they're so freaking annoying, and they hide their annoyingness behind their entire ethnic group. it's fascinating.
Well, yeah, and here's the other thing. Everybody has been saying that, including Trump himself, it's like, well, China is the big bad wolf in the entire world, and China does all these things that are bad, and also Russia does everything. I don't see Chinese people being criticized. I don't see Chinese people being victims of hate. I don't see an anti-Chinese people thing. And this is supposedly the worst country that runs this communist, socialist, whatever regime, dictatorial regime. Yet there's none of that. And the same goes for, and it's like, it actually makes me laugh, because if I saw something like that about Italians, I would be like, no, shut up. Like, just, no, we don't need to don't do that. You certainly
They're
don't
like,
want to
hey,
drop
Guido. They're like, get in the locker, Guido. And I'm
go have
just
a meatball.
crying tears. I'm like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want this to exist.
Yeah, and
That's crazy.
same with Russian people. I've never seen a Russian person get criticized. And it's like, they say actively to this day, like, Putin represents this great adversary of the United States. There's plenty of Russian people here. I've never seen anybody say there's anti-Russian propaganda or anti-Chinese. I've never seen any of that. Yet these people, these countries are being criticized constantly as the boogeyman of the world, and supposedly being anti-American. Wouldn't it be reasonable to think that these people are being hated on? I think that the general idea is not to suggest that there are not racist people or not anti-Semitic people, but when you say that everyone is racist or everyone is anti-Semitic, and this is something that requires a Super Bowl ad to somehow combat against it, when it's like, if you just criticize this country, then you can be placed into this category. It's like, you guys are making people more upset and agitated by pretending that everybody falls in that category.
Yeah, and here's something weird they do with like Jewish in America, where they try to say like, you can't say this about every Jewish person, but then the people who say that do exactly what they say not to do. Like, for example, Trump will pass the anti-Semitism hate speech law thing. It's like the IHRA definition, where it says you can't accuse any Jewish American of having more loyalty to Israel. But then Trump demands that every Jew in America has loyalty to Israel. Like, I know a bunch of Jewish people that love Israel, and then I have a few Jewish friends that are loyal to America and not Israel. But if Trump ever met them, like Dave Smith is a public example, because he's a Jewish American who is clearly loyal to America and has no allegiance to Israel, they hate him. They hate like they want him to have allegiance to Israel, and that's why they don't like it. So it's like they don't realize how much tension they're creating by just not letting people be people. They're like, every person is part of this nation, but you can't say that they're a part of this nation. But we don't think there's a difference between this nation and these people. And then we're going to fund this nation to kill tens of thousands of people. And then we don't want you to talk about it. And then if you do talk about it, we're going to say that you hate all of these people. And then it's like, well, that's a really bad strategy to stop the hate, because you're grouping everyone together essentially while telling us that we're not allowed to group anyone together. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I've been saying it for years now. These people don't care about Jewish people. They care about money. They care about donor money. They're not going to your local deli and saying, hey, keep up the good work, bro. Because like, that deli guy is probably beloved in his community just for being a great person. They're going to billionaire donor conferences with Jewish stars behind them and saying, hey, and then they get money. Like, they don't care about the average Jewish person. The Republicans and Democrats to Jewish communities do what leftists do to like blacks and Hispanics. They just kind of use them for, political means, but more importantly, they're just sucking up so much money.
Yeah, and it's very tiresome that if you say these things, that you are now placed in this bucket as if you hate an entire group of people or a religious group of people or the rest because you see a thing. And it's like, if there was other things that represented as much of a existential threat to America, the country that we love, that I thought all of us were fighting for and representing, it's like, if you dare to criticize that thing, then now you're bad. It's like, well, if there was another country that was doing this, we would be talking about that country.
100%.
If there was 1,000 people being represented in Congress that were constantly talking about this all day, every single day, and then their defense is, why are you so obsessed with this little country? It's like, you talk about it every single day, all day, and there's 1,000 things that are being put in our face every single day. Like that influencer meeting where Bibi was sitting there saying straight to them, like, we need to get Elon to change the algorithm on X. We need to get people to shut down this type of talk on TikTok. It's like, did anybody think that was a good idea? Was that going to really convince people that you're not trying to put your finger on the scale to change it? It's like they're literally throwing it directly in your face every single day and then getting mad at you for acknowledging the thing that they are constantly putting in front of you.
No, they're doing the most, but they don't want people to talk about it at all. And it's, one of the IHRA speech laws says you can't criticize Israel any more than you can another democratic nation. So they're, the IHRA, and in some countries, that law is actually legally binding. In America, it's not legally binding, but they would if they could. And they get to now decide, well, Bobby, we don't mind if you criticize this country, but we feel like you're criticizing it more than other democratic nations, which, like you're saying, it being thrown in our face every day. Let me give you an example. Why have I talked about Ukraine more than Switzerland if they're both democratic nations over the last 5 years? Well, Ukraine has taken hundreds of billions of dollars of foreign aid. They're at war with Russia, and we're funding it. And Zelensky's this global figure, and I can't think of 5 people from Switzerland. So me speaking about Ukraine more than Switzerland or Belgium, it doesn't mean I hate Ukrainians. It's just you can't dictate how much I talk about certain things. And it's the same thing with Israel. It's like, you want me to talk about Israel as much as I talk about Argentina? It's not related as far as how important in the global paradigm.
Yeah, well, and like one of the things that I've been getting, the comments and DMs I've been getting the last few days is they're like, why are you talking so much about Thomas Massie? It's like, what, we get it. You like Thomas Massie. And it's like, I'm making a video about Thomas Massie because 50,000 people are criticizing Thomas Massie. That's what you guys are talking about. The president of the United States is attacking him. I'm just saying that this popular topic that's being talked about and discussed, I have a different view than what appears to be the generally agreed upon view, or the AstroTurf view. So I'm going to respond to it. Why do you talk so much about Thomas Massie? It's like, Trump brings him up every day.
Right.
What do you want me to do?
And from the outside watching that video, like, I know for me, like, every day, when I go to make content, I want to be inspired, and there's always a meaning behind what I'm doing. And I know you're the same. Yeah. So when I watched that video, not only did you defend Thomas Massie, but really, I would say the most important thing that you did was you're showing people what's in this bill and making it actually, like, I don't care that much what's in a bill, but if Thomas posts it and you make it into a video format, now it's a 3-minute video that's making me laugh, but it's educating me on why a congressman said no and what the rest of the Republicans are saying yes to. So it's not like you're just sitting there just like blindly, just like, I love Massie and there's no point to my video. Like, the video clearly had a massive point of showing the world all the things that the Republicans are trying to hide. And it's kind of like the greatest cover-up, not the greatest because there's bigger cover-ups, but the Republican Party that pretends to be so mad at refugees and, illegal immigration and this and that, and the Somalia daycare fraud and foreign aid and money laundering. They're doing all of those things in this bill. It's like that's why it's doing so well, is because it has way more meaning than just you having an opinion about a congressman.
Yes, I think that is the reason why the video went as viral as it did, is because and that's what I said in the video. I'm like, this is a masterclass in how a congressperson is supposed to be transparent about it. Because I remember when Biden was in office, there was this one specific bill where all the people on the left and all of the leftist content creators were saying Republicans just voted against benefits for the military or something. And it was on like a Friday. And all weekend, every single thing was the right doesn't like the military, the right hates the military. And me, as a person that wanted to naturally defend the right, I'm looking for, like, why did they vote no on this? And I had to dive in. And I remember I found this one clip of, like, I forget which congressperson it was explaining it. And it was like this one obscure clip that didn't even get any attention. And I was like, if they had just told us, here's the reason why, here's the other pork that's in this bill, which is the reason we voted no against it, it would give us the firepower we need to respond to it. So Thomas Massie explained it clearly without allowing them to run with the narrative that he just votes no against Trump. And that's why that video went so viral, is because he showed it. It's not that I'm so funny or the video is so great. I would bet a lot of people are maybe annoyed by my delivery. They don't like that I'm yelling. They don't like my voice, my face, whatever. But it doesn't change the meat of the video, which is the reasons why he said no. That's why it went viral, not because of how funny I am.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's a combo of everything, but just I'm saying to the naysayers who are like, why do you do this and that?
Yeah.
It's like it should be very clear why. He's being attacked by 3 billionaires because he serves America over Israel, essentially.
Yeah.
I wanted to play this clip real quick because off that Robert Kraft ad that people just saw with the blue square, and it was like a Jewish kid getting bullied, and then at the end, some tall black kid with an afro came up. It was like so stereotypical. He's like, I know what the hate feels like. This is a common theme, and it's, to be honest, it's been in America since the NAACP. Like, there's been a lot of Jewish influence in black activism in America. I'm not going to say it's the only thing, but it is very prevalent. And I'm just going to play this clip real quick because this is the protege, or I would say the mentor of Patrisse Cullors, who is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter. She's the famous woman who runs BLM. And she was organized and inspired by this guy. And I remember when in Republican media it went super viral that Patrisse Cullors, they found an old video of her holding up a book, and she said, this is kind of like Mao's Red Book, you know, and we're passing it out on college campuses. And Republican media freaked out because they were like, oh my gosh, this black woman who works for BLM is pushing a Mao Zedong book, and Mao Zedong killed tens of millions of people. What no one reported, I think I was the only one 3 years ago, and I'm just going to play this clip again, is it was a book by Eric Mann that she was passing out. So I looked this guy up. I'm like, okay, who is this guy who basically is like the hidden hand behind BLM and their founding and their inspiration? And here's like the first, I'm not even kidding, this is the first clip I found in an interview. I found one interview of him on YouTube, and I'm going to play it. Here's what he says about how he got inspired into left-wing activism.
How did you get started?
Well, I come out of a Jewish, socialist, somewhat anti-communist tradition. Not me, but that's what I come out of. Very strong anti-fascist. It's a joke, but I say that the fascist bastards were the first words that came out of my mouth, because that's all I kept hearing about fascists and Jews and genocide. And I'm very proud of my parents for not, at 5 years old, I was thinking about people starving in Europe. Yeah. I didn't know what Europe was. And there's a world made up of goyim who attack us and put us in concentration camps, and we got to fight them. That was the main point. My mom said, stand up to those anti-Semites. Don't let them push us around. So then when I met the black movement, I said, oh, I thought Jews were assertive. Wait till I saw this is the ultimate assertion, the ultimate anger. And what I didn't get before was a revolutionary theory of change. So when I joined the movement, it was all about, do you know about Africa? No. And then we're part of the Indians. What are the Indians? Oh, yeah, and this country is wrong. This country is fundamentally wrong. It's built on the wrong foundations, built on genocide. So I didn't come up with the word. I said, wait, genocide, just like what happened. Oh, I remember genocide. That's what my parents taught me about. So quickly I got it. Jews, blacks, Native Americans, the world, people starving. And if you know, King went to divinity school.
So he says his parent or his mom said the world's made up of goyim trying to attack us, and you got to stand up to those anti-Semites. And then he said, you know, he found that the black movements had the ultimate anger, and then it wasn't until later he was like into their theories. So I find that like a common theme where they're always kind of like exploiting their activism and trying to be like, look, it's like us. We're in this together, you know, those bad white people over there, you know, doing these bad white people things. It's like, all right, if you think that.
Yeah, there's definitely no doubt that being a victim and then manipulating, and that being a part of the victim class and then manipulating those people to enrich all of those people, which is exactly what BLM did. I wonder what that looks like on the right, but perhaps the enrichment is just reverting money or power or whatever back to the country that you maybe have loyalty to. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've kind of dove into this a lot over the last couple of years, and I think obviously everyone has their own agenda, like Patrice Cullors, and some people in the scheme I think are useful idiots, like, they're being tricked, they're being used. But I find that with the black movement, obviously there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of anger due to the past. So, there's like, that's what a lot of people are feeling on every level. And this country is very twisted and kind of a scam in many ways. So I think it's hard sometimes to figure out what's going on, and you're just pissed off, just like white people are pissed off too. So, I understand that angle of it. And I think, I won't say for him, he explained what his mother told him, but from other people that I've heard that are into like mass migration and like, what I would consider like anti-Europeanness or something, where they have this like, whole grudge with Europe, etc., is that historically they felt that they stood out in certain countries where the majority, like if you're another race in Italy or Germany or Spain or France, you kind of stick out like a sore thumb. And I think historically, even in America, even though this was a melting pot of Europeans at one time for people coming all over, there was still racism or whatever you want to call it between Italians and Irish. And, there's always been like tribalism. So that's just natural. And I think a lot of people, especially of Eric's ethnicity, they've said in interviews and stuff that I've heard that they feel more comfortable in countries that are super diverse. So I think a lot of the mass migration and the racial activism is kind of, every character in it has their own agenda, and they kind of work with each other the same way the Democrats or the Republicans do, even though they don't like each other. But I think that's kind of one of the driving forces. Is I think there's a lot of historical resentment, and I think there's a lot of purposeful kind of mass migration. And when you brought up China and Russia earlier, I have a theory based off of everything I've seen. I think that our establishment and our infrastructure, left wing and right wing, from George Soros to Donald Trump, they're always talking about China and Russia because China is mostly Chinese and Russia is mostly Russian. They're two nations. In 1,000 years, they're still going to be there. Like, China's not going anywhere because they have such a deep understanding of what it means to be Chinese. And Russia are some of the strongest and toughest Europeans left. I think that's ultimately why a lot of our leaders are mad at them, because they're trying to break them the same way they broke America, Canada, Australia, and Europe. But most people don't see it that way. But that's how I see it.
Yeah, well, it's one of a multitude of reasons why, you're labeled like a white nationalist if you say that there needs to be some preservation of American values or American heritage, and this is now looked at as being racist or being some type of supremacist of some kind. And it's like every nationality, every group fights to preserve that group. And it's like you could say that Jewish people as a collective group fights to preserve their own group and their own heritage probably better than most other groups do. But if you are a white European or whatever else, an Italian or whatever it is, and you do the same thing, that's somehow looked at as some like affront or some type of superiority complex, when like they literally do that. And there's like a lot of things that they do that are actually very smart. One of my friends was telling me that part of the what's it called trip, like the birthright trip, is like learning about the history of Israel and learning about all of their national like background and fundamentals. And they obviously have to serve in the military there. So it's like they're actively working to preserve their own culture. But anybody that does that, especially just like normal white American people, that's somehow looked at as like this affront and some type of superiority complex, which means that we are definitely in the target of destruction.
Right. And I mean, most people have figured it out now, but who's making these lopsided rules in order to, disadvantage some while claiming that they're fighting disadvantaged ones? That was a little poem there. And, like you said, it's the hypocrisy that bothers me. It's not, I don't care who likes each other. Like during the Olympics, I'm rooting for America. China should root for China. I don't think it's racist. I think it makes total sense. But it's, it's the same thing with that. And I do think with Jewish activism and black activism, they kind of find that as a common ground. Like I'll use Colin Kaepernick, for example. I think he would hate himself in full white version. Like if there were a white Colin Kaepernick who had the exact same mindset of Colin Kaepernick, but for white people, the actual Colin Kaepernick would hate him. But it's like I could respect Colin Kaepernick's activism if he could respect others who are doing it. If people in the Jewish community want to do some things, but they don't want Europeans and other people to do it, and they have these words to say that and this, that's when it just becomes a little weird, where it's like you could not think about race at all. You could think about it all the time. You could really deeply care about your ancestors. You could not care. Like I don't personally care what you want to do with your life. It's your life. You can marry who you want. You could have kids with who you want. You can't have kids with the same sex. I know people try, but it doesn't pop out like that unless you get them like made in a lab or something, like a lot of couples are doing it. But anyway, it's like it's the hypocrisy and the double standards that I think annoy a lot of people. And I've seen it over the last 10 years, definitely the last 4 years, is people have gone from being more politically correct about it to being more honest about it, because people are tired of the double standards and the hypocrisy. And it's like the words don't really work anymore. Like they called people racist for like 8 years. Nobody really cares that much because the word's overused. And same with anti-Semitic. I mean, I think they overplayed their hand by not just calling right-wing people it, but now it's like anybody who opposes the war is an anti-Semite. These words don't mean anything. And at the end of the day, it's like, what are you saying? Are you right or are you wrong? And even with people that may agree with me on some things, I think some people like are assholes, right? There's dickheads in every community. So like I listen to some people and I'm like, that person, I don't think I'd get along with them because they're just obnoxious, So it's like I say what I say and everyone else presents it how they do, but I can't control what everyone else is doing. And I think, either you're right, you're wrong, it's good, it's not, that these are words that matter to me, not like you're this word, you're a supremacist. It's like, no.
Well, the parallels between the BLM movement in 2019, 2020, whatever, they're reduplicating the exact same thing with this. Like one of the things that is so interesting is like people like Ben Shapiro used to post all of these critical things about BLM and people that suggested that they were being victims of racism and that the cops were, killing them at these unprecedented rates or whatever. And Ben was like, facts don't care about your feelings. Here's all the statistics about all of this stuff. BLM is so tiresome. Everyone has fatigue from this. And then it's like, you literally swap racism out for anti-Semitism. You take the exact same movement, exactly identical, and move it 4 years ahead. And they literally will do the exact same thing. Like I remember there was a video one time where I think it was like a musician or something at the Grammys. And one of the questions was like, who do you want to win the Grammys or the Golden Globes or whatever? And they're like, I want only black people to win. And then all of these people are like, look, that's racist. Like here they are, like trying to encourage people to appreciate their own culture. And it's like Ben Shapiro and Ben Shapiro type people would say the exact same thing today and replace it in exactly the same way. It's like they're supportive of their own culture, and that's fine. But it's like if you were going to use that to criticize people that were supporting BLM and black people, then it's like, how do you not see the parallels between that and now? And somebody like Ben Shapiro, that's supposedly this like higher level intellectual, I don't believe that he doesn't see it. I believe that he does, and he knows, and he does it anyways. And it's like, you guys can criticize everybody else, but when it comes back on you, now you're almost in even more of a protected class. I would say a far more protected class than any of them were.
Right. No, 100%. I think Ben knows what he's doing. There's a funny joke. Who was it? It was Shane Gillis. It was like live in Austin. That's a great stand-up.
Yeah.
And he was doing a joke where he was like, he was talking about how in the past, people were more racist until they realized people could play football, and then they became not racist because they wanted to win football games.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm not gonna lie, I still have a little bit in me. He's like, if I see a white guy catch a pass, I'll be like, go, 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 and then he gets like tackled. I'll be like, oh man, that was a really smart play. Like he was just joking where he's like, I'm rooting for him low key, which is just like funny. Yeah, it's like if a black person says I only want black people to win awards, I guess I'm just past the point of being like, you're racist, this is wrong. It's like that individual is allowed to want his ethnic group to win awards. I'm fine with that. But if that person then will call somebody a racist, if they do exactly what he does, that person is annoying and a liar. And same with Ben Shapiro. It's like, some people are like, you can't think that way. how can you control what people think? Let's just say you're white and you say, I want to marry a white wife. How are you going to tell that? Oh, you need to marry a Latino. No, they could do whatever they want. If they want to marry an Asian or Latino, they can do that as well. Like, you can't force someone. Like, if I want to root for Nikola Jokic because he's a tall Serbian dude, you can't tell me I have to like Anthony Edwards more. I like Jokic for other reasons too, but I do think it's kind of funny that he's Serbian. I'm not even Serbian, but it's just like he's really good passer. It like just doesn't even make sense that he's so good. But then there's other black players I like too, but it's like you can't tell a black dude you have to like white actors. It's like they don't though. I don't know. Like, would it be nicer to do that? Sure, but everyone's entitled to how they want to perceive things, but the double standards are just, people are over them. You can't do one thing and then tell other people they can't do it.
Well, right, but that's the whole point, is that it's not to criticize the individual position. It's just to have a non-principled stance that only applies in this category, but doesn't here. Like, one of the things that people criticize Thomas Massie for, to bring him back into it, is like, it's like Thomas Massie is principled. If you look at the list of his votes and the things that he says, they follow a specific set of guidelines that don't mold or bend based on whatever people are suggesting that it means now. He follows a specific set of guidelines and rules, and then they make fun of him for having those principles. So it's like, if Ben's going to criticize them, then he can't do the same exact thing. You could let both groups get away with the same thing, but you can't go out of your way to criticize one and then do the exact same thing yourself. It's a non-fair, non-principled stance. And I think that that's one of the things that, people like us are so frustrated about all of these other creators doing, where it's like, you're going to criticize the left for doing X, Y, and Z. All they do is just support leftist politicians. Well, you do the same thing with Trump that they did with Biden. It's like, if Biden did something, if Biden was clearly deranged or clearly did something that was terrible, everybody used to make fun of the left for just marching in lockstep with them. But they will do the exact same thing on the right and pretend it's not happening, and then pretend that we are somehow the enemy for acknowledging that they're not following the set of principles that they used to say the left was doing.
Well, I'm at the point now where I'll start with the media before I get to the voters. Republican media who just says left, 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 I consider them as toxic and as useless as like CNN and NBC, because they're just creating this world where it's like la, 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 but nothing matters. It's like, here's what we want, but then we're going to push the bill that does the exact opposite. Then we're going to support the guy who attacks people who are going to do it. We say America first, but then we won't talk about the lobby that's stopping American politicians from serving America. It's like the entire thing is fake opposition. So I'm really just over those people, because they're tricking the average American. If you told the American people what we're talking about, if you put someone like us or Thomas Massie on Fox News, Newsmax, Daily Wire, all of these things every day, 95% of the Republican base would agree with us. It's not that people don't agree. They just don't know that they're being fed just like slop. And then for the people and the voters, if you're so simplistic that you think if you disagree with Trump, you're Kamala, or if you disagree with Trump, you're a liberal. I mean, these people, they're as dumb as leftists. Like, I'll give you one example of, just like we were talking about double standards. I don't care if people look into like my entire past. I've been putting videos online since I was 19 years old. I still do hip hop, but like, that's what I did till I was 26. So I have videos of things that I wouldn't say now because I was 21 years old smoking weed, whatever. But in general, it's like, you could look up my political past, where it's like, I thought both parties were a scam. I liked Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton. And then in the first election, I voted third party because I didn't like Hillary. I would never vote for Hillary. But I also wasn't sure about Trump. But by the time he won and was inaugurated, like, I already knew he seemed like more of a real deal to me. But anyway, I was 24, 25, 26 years old. By the time I was 30, I was a registered Republican. I would never donate to a Democrat, and I never did. Donald Trump in his 50s was donating to Democrats. I mean, probably into his 60s. I think he donated to Schumer, to Hillary. He was not only friends with all these people, but he was a Democrat donor. If you're going to say, Anomaly, when you were 25 years old, you preferred Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton, and that's it for me because you were 25 and you got tricked by Bernie Sanders. But when Donald Trump was in his 50s, I'm going to give him a pass for donating to Hillary Clinton. Like, I would expect people not to trust me if I donated to Hillary Clinton 15 years from now when I'm in my 50s. But Trump gets a pass for being a Democrat into his adult life. But I'm a bad person because when I was in my 20s, I got tricked. It's like the double standards don't add up. Or when Ron DeSantis ran against Trump and they said, Ron DeSantis is doing all these things. I told people, I said, sure, I'm not a big like Ron DeSantis stan. I think he's a sellout too. But all these things you're accusing Ron DeSantis of, Trump is literally doing, and you guys don't want to look at it. So it's like you're not actually honest. I consider those people at this point just as dumb as liberals, really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And that's the point, is that like it is not financially or popularity beneficial to point out things that require time to uncover, that also are looked at as an affront to the image that you already have of what your side supposedly is. So like somebody like Thomas Massie pointing out those things in the bill that he voted against, they won't say why that's bad that he voted against those things. They'll just say, look, he got this donation from this place, or look, he always goes against Trump. It's like, what about those things? What about the things that he said right there?
Right.
Wouldn't you think that you should say, hey, every other American first, patriot, Republican, whatever, why did you vote for that? But instead it's just like, no, Massie is bad. And it's like, and DeSantis got a lot of criticism for that. And I remember during the campaign, one of the things he said, he's like, I was never a registered Democrat. So it's like, so I hate to tell you. And then like, meanwhile, and as much as people hate on DeSantis, and obviously he has his problems like anybody else, but it's like, he's actively trying to get rid of property tax in Florida. He happens to run a state that's really, really well run. All of the things that he's said, for the most part, he's excelled at. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have certain loyalties and other bad things like the speech laws and whatever else. But it's like, when it all comes out in the end, he did a lot of really great things, but they're like, he has stupid boots. He's a loser. And they do the same thing about Massie. Instead of calling on all of the Republican people that voted for that bill, which is every single one except for Thomas Massie, they just dump on him. Like, I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, it seems pretty clear that Trump is like super sold out and tied in. But I think DeSantis is sold out in a lot of the same categories as Trump, but he's less selfish in the sense of like, I'm sure he's selfish in some ways, but I do think that with the small amount of leeway he has, especially on a state level, he's probably less tied down. He does actually execute and get some things done that make sense. And with Trump, like if you listen to him talk, I hate to say this because, I do think DeSantis is sold out, but does some good stuff. I just don't think there's really that much good about Trump. I think he's super sold out. I think he's not only sold out in ways that DeSantis is not, with mega donors and took even more money, but I think the Epstein stuff, not that he necessarily did anything like people are saying, but that whole orbit and that whole scandal is just, surrounding him. And on top of that, I don't think he has any conviction because I think he's like the most selfish person in the world. Everything's about him. So it's like with any power that Trump even does have, he literally doesn't give a shit. Like I think if DeSantis were president, maybe I'm wrong, he'd probably be selling out exactly like Trump, but then maybe he'd do a few things that he could, like he does in Florida. Trump, what's he even doing? He's building a ballroom with Miriam Adelson and Lockheed Martin money and a bunch of tech bros and crypto bros. He's doing a bunch of crypto scams with his family. Like what is he even doing? Like he's actually almost worse than DeSantis because everyone knows DeSantis is sold out and they call him out on it. With Trump, they close their eyes, act like he's not sold out. And with any power and sovereignty that he does have, he doesn't do anything. Like it's like he's so excited for this ballroom because he's an 80-year-old billionaire who hangs out with rich people, and that's what rich people like. While you're broke and you're struggling and you're paying taxes and you're getting scammed by the IRS, Donald Trump is hanging out with Bill Gates and Bill Clinton. He doesn't give a shit. He wants to build a new ballroom and show all his rich friends, look at the gold, look at the diamonds. Like he's like the biggest elitist out there. I feel like he's even worse than DeSantis, honestly.
Well, the thing that's crazy is that, if the people, the popular vote, the electoral college, all the rest voted for Trump, he's got the House, he's got the Supreme Court. And it's like, we have the dominant position, the upper hand right now for 2 years until the midterms. if everybody kind of unanimously understands that like it's highly unlikely that you would win the midterms, and that's just historically accurate, that it's very unlikely for you to win it that way and then also maintain the midterms. Those 2 years would be the time where you were able to advance the most domestic policy imaginable. Yet it seems like every single thing that his time is being spent on, not only talking about, but pushing laws for, are other countries and foreign policy. And he's talking about how he ended the war in whatever country, this country versus this country. And it's like, okay, so, but what are we doing that's on the America side? Because if you lose in the midterms to a massive degree, well, then aren't we kind of hamstrung then? And if it seems highly likely that a Democrat's going to win in 28, which certainly I don't hope for, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. It's like the one 2 year block that we had to get a lot of good things done. Not that many good things are getting done. The border, yes, there are good things. There's certainly a lot of good things, but I don't see this overwhelming amount of America first policy that's actually being pushed through that we can even look to and say, look at this laundry list of incredible things that have been done for the American people. If you want to say for America in a foreign policy sense and all these things around the world, yes. But when's the last time there was something really, truly great done for the average American citizen? I think it's few and far between.
He's not doing anything. And what people don't understand is that even though he ran on I'm not going to take anybody's money, which was awesome. It's like, dude, he's so rich. He doesn't have to take their money. If you look at the amount of money he took hundreds of millions of dollars from Miriam Adelson. He took over $100 million from some guy named Mellon. He took over $100 million from Elon Musk. And he took hundreds of millions of dollars during his inauguration. Even if donors don't like you and they vote for Kamala, once you win, they give you a bunch of money at your inauguration because that's their way to lobby whoever's the president and then get on their good side anyway. Trump broke a record. No one has ever raised as much money on an inauguration as Trump, not even close. So he sold out in that way more than any president ever. No president even comes close to having 3 billionaires give them over $100 million. Trump is actually... There's a the reason his term isn't going as well as most people wanted to. I think he's the biggest sellout in U.S. history, which is crazy to say because Obama sucked. Biden was a total pharma puppet. Like all of our politicians have been a scam, and like personality wise, Biden's an idiot. But Trump actually might be the most sold out politician in modern history. And that's why his term sucks so bad. I mean, I had literally no expectations for him because I knew who he was. But I was like, I think, and maybe I'm a fool for this, but I'm like, I think he could do immigration without making it about Israel, right? It has nothing to do with Israel, but somehow he made it about Israel. He's rigging the immigration process to scan social media to not allow people to become citizens if they're anti-Semites. And according to the anti-Semitism hate speech law, Donald Trump wouldn't be able to get citizenship because he breaks his own laws all the time. Thomas Massie would be considered an anti-Semite. Ron Paul would be considered an anti-Semite. Rand Paul would be considered an anti-Semite. Candace Owens is banned from Australia for being an anti-Semite, essentially. Tucker Carlson wouldn't be allowed in America. Like some of your least sold out, or at least like most outspoken Republicans about certain topics that are the least controllable would not be able to be U.S. citizens under Trump's rule. Like he's rigging the immigration process for Israel and his Jewish donors. And then if you say that he's doing that, they'll say you're anti-Semitic. And he's working with people like the World Jewish Congress leader Ron Lauder, who gave him the idea to go into Greenland or to acquire it rather. That's through John Bolton, said that years ago. He's talking about sending anti-Semites to jail. They look at Europe, and even our anti-Semitism czars, like, Europe has the strongest, and they wish, some of them, I'm not going to say who, but a lot of people in that ilk, they wish this was Europe where they could throw people in prison for speech. They can't because we're in America. So it's like he couldn't even make immigration just about America. He's such an idiot, and I guess I've been even more outspoken about it because I'm like, all right, I know Trump sucked last time. I gave him a lot of stuff. Yeah, I voted for him because I want to close the border and he's better than Biden, but I still don't really like him that much. Let's see what he does. He literally does nothing, works for a foreign nation, and is trying to kick out my favorite congressman out of Congress. It's like, screw Trump. He sucks.
Well, that's the thing is that if being anti-Semitic was a narrow definition that was very justifiably so, it's almost like you wouldn't want a person that's posting, let's say, racist things about, like, say, black people. Let's say if that's what it was. Okay, then let's say that we all agree with that. But it's like if it was an anti-Italian type bill and it was just like every Italian likes meatballs and spaghetti, like they have marinara blood. It's like you can't say that's anti-Italian and that's enough to reject, to revoke your citizenship. It's not the thing itself. It's the loose and overwhelmingly vague definition that they all break. That's the problem. It's not the existence of it in and of itself. It's the vagary of it.
Well, it goes even deeper than that, because like while that's a hilarious example, it's like it's like a joke where these laws are not to protect jokes. These laws are to protect George Soros, Mark Zuckerberg, like Trump's donors. Like they're paying him money, and then there's laws that say you can't say they're doing what they're doing. There's people who control certain things and certain aspects of society through massive companies that have a huge stake, right? And then they want to sit there and say that you can't say that. So it's basically laws for normal people to not be allowed to criticize people who have a lot of real estate in media, politics, finances, etc. And I'm not saying they can. I'm not like I'm telling who. Like I'm not a jealous person, but the thing is, I do like the First Amendment. So if I have a pattern where it's like, okay, most media companies are controlled by this, most this, that, and then I'm starting to put it together where I'm like, wait, these hate speech laws that they're passing are trying to stop me from, let me give another example. Jonathan Pollard was a spy who was in prison, got sent back to Israel on Trump's donor's jet, by the way. And now he's in Israel saying, not only was I a spy, but he's calling for every person of his ethnicity to spy on America for Israel. He's saying that. But if he was in America right now, spying on America for Israel, and I said, hey, he's doing that, I just broke one of the anti-Semitism laws. So it's like you can't even talk about espionage in certain cases. They're even worse than just jokes. It's like these laws to prevent people from speaking out. It's exactly identical to during lockdowns where it's like, you know what, we've decided now that you can't be against mandates, you can't be against vaccines, you can't be against masks, you can't be against going out, you can't want to open your gym, you can't want to work, you can't want to stop us from extracting trillions of dollars of wealth and bankrupting your business. Well, that's a really inconvenient speech rule that they created during 2020, because this is the perfect time to criticize big pharma. It's the same sort of game being played.
Well, they assign intent, and they have free credence to assign intent for what you mean or why you say something that's outside of what it is that you're actually doing. And it's like, to use the similarity to lockdown, it's like I don't want to take a mysterious potion and wear this very porous diaper to block me from this thing, and I don't want to lose my job. And they're like, well, then you want to kill grandma. If you say this, then that means you want grandma to die. And it's just like, if I say that I disagree with this policy of this or the way that this thing is being handled, well, that means that you're antiseptic or whatever is the case. And it's like, dude, they assign that blame, just like if you say, I want to marry a white person and I'm a white person. It's like, well, you're racist now. And it's like, well, a Jewish person can say that their kid should only marry a Jewish person and only have kids with a Jewish person, and that's not hateful. So is it hateful or is it not hateful? It's the double standard that is so confusing. And then if you dare to break that, they put you and label you in this box. And it's like, you're only creating more divide and creating more animosity by saying that everybody is a racist, like, or labeling them in something, just like BLM did. It's like, if you don't post the black square, you are a racist. And it's like, no, I think that the organization that's making money off of this is doing so to manipulate you. That's why I don't post the black square. So it's like, now if you don't post the blue square, now you're the same thing. They're always just assigning this meaning to why you say something. And it's like, if you criticize any of these things, like Dave Rubin or Mike Huckabee or whoever else will flip upside down and say that you're anti-Semitic. And it's like, that's a very broad conclusion to draw based on any criticism at all.
I can't wait to see Mike Huckabee interview Tucker if it actually happens. Dude, Tucker's gonna cook him. And with the BLM square, it reminds me of during COVID, this white guy from like college, like I barely knew him. He was your bro's bro. Like he just was just a bro, he was broed out for sure. But he hits me up. He's like, you're racist. And I was like, bro, I haven't talked to you in 10 years. I played beer pong with you when I was like 21 years old. I was like, are you Martin Luther King now, bro? You're like, his Instagram was filled with like nothing. He had like, it was like he hadn't posted in like 4 years, but now he's Malcolm X. I'm like I was just laughing so hard. I'm like, dude, like,
yeah.
Why do you think I care what you think? Or why do you think you were like Malcolm X today? But then like tomorrow you're gonna just be like, oh, I'm over it. But it's like, you're a racist. I'm like, really, dude? Like,
yeah,
that's it. Well, I'm gonna cut it off before 2 hours. Let people know where they can find you and any last words.
I'm at Take Naps on all the platforms. That's on X, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. But if you want to find all my socials, just go to followbobby.com. And then as far as the last words are concerned, all I would say is that I believe that in the very near future, if not the present and ongoing into the future, that it is the people who manage to navigate these times without selling out for the short-term cash or the short-term benefit or the short-term retweets or reposts, that their content as well as their character and their integrity will stand the test of time. So it doesn't matter how many people yell at us in the comments or in the DMs or don't follow or unfollow or whatever else. We believe that our position will stand the test of time, and that's why we do it. And if somebody else sees the amount of negativity that gets thrown at people that do that, just understand that if you join that, that will be the content that lasts into the future. And all of these like MAGA slop reposters, their grift will soon end. And are you going to tell me that in 5 years somebody's going to really care what like a cat turd type retweets about when there is no Trump? I just don't think that those things stand the test of time. So I hope more people join that fight.
Amen. And I'll say this too, off the inspiration of what you just said. During COVID, they have supercomputers, they have algorithms, like they can crunch data very easily. Everyone can, we can as well. But in general, the people who run the show during COVID, they only got to get away with everything because they knew enough people would play along. And a lot of people watching this, in some ways, people probably played along and didn't. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying, like, if in any way you rejected anything they did, you probably ended up winning. And most people I know that caved on any level, whether it was job, this or that, I haven't met a single person that's like, I'm glad I did it. Most people are like, I wish I didn't. I wish I would have thought of that before. And it's not a big deal. But at the end of the day, they're going to do something again in the same ilk, and they have the numbers of who's retarded and who's not, essentially. Like they know who's liberal, they know who's Republican, they know who will join the ICE protests when Billie Eilish says so and Sabrina Carpenter almost cries on live television. They know which Republicans would literally follow Trump the Pied Piper into the ocean and drown with him. They have all of this data. So while it might seem like things do or don't matter, that like the to me, the real revolution is mental and it's personal. You don't even have to go in the street. You don't have to get angry. You just have to not be a sheep, because they know if there's enough sheep, they will do stuff. Even now with Iran, they're trying to manufacture consent for this war. It's going to be a bad war. It's going to be one that has massive costs. There's 90 million people there. It's going to create another mass situation that Europe, America, and nobody's ready to handle. And they will throw it onto us, by the way, because they just use us. So it's like they're trying so hard to manufacture consent. And that's what they always do with everything. Manufacture consent or turn enough people into sheep so they can do something and get away with it. So even though times seem bleak in some ways, I think that more people are paying attention now than ever. And it's really bothering the people who run the show because they don't have the numbers that they want to have to do certain things. And that's why it's so important to wake people up and just stand firm. Not to necessarily agree with everything Amir or Bobby says, but to be a critical thinker that actually thinks about what's going on and comes to conclusions similar to a Thomas Massie, et cetera, because they will try to do something at one point. If they could take away our First Amendment, they absolutely would, but they can't right now. If they could take away the guns, they would have done it 20 years ago, but they can't. So it matters to pay attention, and it matters to be awake. And I'm grateful that the numbers are decent now, but they definitely need to be higher, because we need to wake up more, especially on our side. We need more Trump supporters and conservatives to be critical thinkers, because if not, I guarantee they have another trick for us up their sleeve.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, and it represents a massive existential threat if you can get everybody to unanimously agree with all these little things, because when it comes time for a big thing, they'll know that they already have a captive audience.
100%. Thanks for joining. We'll definitely have you on again. That was awesome. And let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think of the show.
My pleasure.
All right. Dream.